All right, Taiwan tracks 11 Chinese military aircraft, 3 naval ships around country. Right now, we have covered multiple drills that are going on, including a new one with Russia and, of course, China heading towards the East China Sea. Now we have, of course, more news coming in of the Ministry of National Defense tracked 11 Chinese military aircraft and 3 naval vessels around Taiwan around 6 a.m. on Tuesday. Of the 11 People's Liberation Army aircraft, 4 were monitored in the southwest corner of Taiwan's Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ, including one Zhangzi Y-8 anti-submarine warfare plane, one Zhangzi Y-8 electronic warfare plane, and one Zhangzi Y-8 reconnaissance plane, and one Harbin BZK-005 reconnaissance drone. Basically everything you need to scout ahead. It says this, according to the MND, no PLA aircraft crossed the Taiwan Strait median line during this time. In response, Taiwan sent aircraft, naval ships, and used land-based missiles to monitor the PLA aircraft and vessels. Basically, when something like this happens, in their mind, they don't know if it's just a drill, if they're going by, or if they're going to stop and all of a sudden come their way. This is why it's incredibly important for the U.S. or some other power there to be already in that area, and it looks like that may be happening. Rumors from the Marfoogle family say that we are actually heading that way as well, maybe as a precaution. I don't know, but that's not official yet. We'll talk about all of this and everything else that has happened in the last 24 hours, including all of our B2 nuclear bombers being grounded, or at least a big chunk of them. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It's Adam, aka Marf. Thank you, everyone, for being patient. We may actually have some issues tonight. I don't know. We have a severe snowstorm here that is going on right now, and we have already lost power twice and got back on. So hopefully everything runs without a hitch going on in this show. But if you do want to go back and see all of the articles, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here tonight, or for some reason our power goes out, you can go over there and check out all of the rest. Go to marfooglenews.com, and not only is it easy to navigate, you just look for today's thumbnail, but it will also have a source for every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. On top of that, there is a whole lot down at the bottom. In fact, once you hit a yellow bar, you're going to hit an overflow section. That is all the stuff that would not fit into a 2-hour time period, or the extremely political stuff we always put down there. We cover a full, broad spectrum of news. We collect it from all over the world, and every single day you can guarantee you can go there and find all of our previous shows. So make sure to go check that out. Use it. It is archived. You can go up to the search in the upper right hand corner. If there's a subject such as ranging from Bigfoot to ancient Egypt, you can search that up in the top, and it will show you all of the shows that we talk about those subjects. So, and that goes over the last 3 years or so. So let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Marfoogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So I did want to put a reminder out there. I spent a lot of the day today talking to different creators and getting the message out. I would love it if any of the creators that watch the show, especially you replay watchers, smaller creators and bigger creators alike, BP Earthwatch, I haven't gotten a hold of him, but some others, please send us a 15 to 30 second video saying happy holidays, Merry Christmas, God bless, whatever you want to end up putting on there. 15 to 30 seconds, just upload it unlisted to your YouTube channel and then send us the link and we'll get you into a collaboration and then put you on before Christmas. Also, Twisted Luck Truth, I think I got a hold of you. There was other people that I ended up getting a hold of. I know Derek and Jacob and other people are going to be working on that. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. So thank you, and I hope we get a lot of different people on there so we can showcase all of our friends and all of the wonderful people around us. And if you would love, also somebody I didn't get a hold of, which is our official Foogle Grandmas. If you're watching Ann Lynn show, please send us a video. I would love to put you in there. All right, and then just a reminder, if you do want to meet some of our friends, we have a great website on there. It's marfooglenews.com/friends. We have all of our mods channels, and then, of course, all of our friends there as well. All right, let's go back to this first piece here, Dex. So, first of all, there's going to be some other news. Of course, our B2s are now grounded, or at least they were. We don't know if they're up in the air again, but that's kind of, you would see that as a vulnerability. And two, you have all of these things going on across the planet. Last night we covered how Russia and China are doing drills. And as always, we let people know, hey, we cover that just to let you know and give you a heads up, because any drill or exercise could be a disguise for actually moving troops. It could be a disguise for actually moving Navy, any one of that without causing a massive amount of alarm. Now, with Taiwan, everyone is kind of questioning when this might happen. What's crazier is that some experts and even some officials said they even predicted as soon as this year. And at that time, I think it was October, we were like, there's only 2 months left. Imagine if they did do an invasion right at Christmas time. It would be pretty horrible timing. We have a lot to talk about, including the earthquake that happened off of California on the subduction zone in that area. Another earthquake that ended up happening after that. We have the freezing cold temperatures. We have Russia. We have UKR. We have everything tonight. Dex, when Taiwan sees all of these ships, they're probably thinking this is, it could be the real thing, or I bet they're not too happy about these passings.
Well, I always say that they're doing this. They, being Xi, is doing this to constantly keep them under stress, and it stresses their defense systems. It causes them to scramble sometimes. It causes them to make movements. It causes them to actually think that any one of these times could be the time. And so it does a lot of things. One, it adds stress to Taiwan, but it also gives intel to China about specifically how are they going to react, or what reactions are they doing with each one of these types of incursions or flybys or locations that they get close to their zones. So it's definitely a part of their strategy. And certainly I would expect that when the real deal happens, it's probably going to look just like this. We just won't know. It'll probably look like a drill, or they'll think it's a drill, but it won't. It'll keep going.
And just to put it in perspective, so far this month, in 20 days, Beijing has sent 300 military aircraft and 79 naval ships around Taiwan. So they are very active. If you were living in Taiwan right now, I bet you would be a little nervous about what is happening right now. Of course, many of us are looking at this, and we've been saying for years that a really big conflict is coming. I believe a world war is coming. That's my view. That is my opinion. Again, I'd love to hear yours as well. If you're new to my show, I'm not trying to scare you and say it's World War III and it's scary fearmonger. It's more of, if you watch the show on a regular basis, then you would know all of the little things and the reasons why we believe a World War III is coming up. And it's not absolutely something you should be super afraid of. You will know every step of the way if you're following our show, for one. But two, people need to stop getting super excited when the media gets excited, and stop getting so complacent when the media doesn't cover it. When the media doesn't cover it, there's still things going on around the world. It's just that they don't have that big headline to scare the crap out of you. Right now, there are movements being made around the country. and in the world. And I say country because Foogle fam have said that the U.S. is moving military like never before. And they even said back when it was 2 or 3 years ago, when there was all of this talk about movement and different drills and exercises going on, there is more going on now than has ever gone on in their lifetimes. That was a quote from one of our Foogle family members that's ex-military and has a son currently in the military. So I'm wondering what the hell is actually happening. We have seen many things. We've covered so much, I can't even go over all of it. But we've watched, and from the public standpoint, we can see certain things. We can see when the Navy ships leave the docks. There's webcams 24/7 on these docks. We saw when all of these deployed, absolutely full to the brim, of jets and soldiers and thousands of deployments. And of course, everybody just kind of, accepted that and moved on. But right now, our military is deployed all over the world. But that doesn't really shock anybody because people go, oh, well, we have bases all over the world. Of course we are. But there is actual troops placed all over Europe. We have some of our most important, brigades or battalions and battle groups. They are all set and ready in place. They're mobilized. They are ready. So that's a good thing. But again, we are kind of waiting for this to fall apart, and that's not a good thing. What do you guys think? Let me know. Of course, we'll be following it. And if you have information that's breaking, or if you know something right off of the bat because you happen to have family members, if you're able to share it, send it to myself at adam@marfooglenews.com, or you can also send it to dex@marfooglenews.com. You can also send videos to marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo if you have anything crazy. We're going to go into what is going on right now. It says the Texas National Guard holding rifles and driving Humvees arrive at the El Paso border. Incredible border scenes at National Guard flood El Paso, and Humvees line the banks of Rio Grande amid fears 14,000 migrants a day will cross when Title 42 expires tomorrow. It says a huge Texas National Guard presence arrived at the southern border in El Paso overnight as the Texas city prepares for an even larger influx of migrants once Title 42 ends. This is, of course, what we talked about last week and what Tommy from the Lifeboat, a great channel and a great caller, called in and really brought up about a day and a half or 2 days before mainstream was even covering it. That is because the Lifeboat actually covers a lot of the any kind of subject regarding drug recovery, of course, all of the things that are going on in that community. And the reason why this matters is because a lot of bad stuff is coming into our country through our southern border, and that may just get a whole lot worse. In fact, he actually warned about something called phytomethazine, I think it is, and it's even worse than the stuff that is currently replacing the already worse stuff that was here. So there's a lot happening right here. There's a lot at stake. Dex, it sounds like they're basically posted up. They're waiting for this to happen. But is it going to be a big deal, or are they going to somehow extend this? Is something going to happen over at night, at midnight? What is going to end up happening here?
Yeah, this is the big question. So I think we got in the next article, the administration is making a statement on it. But what's happened is the states that are most affected have gone to the courts and now have worked their way up to the Supreme Court. As we reported yesterday, the Supreme Court gave a temporary hold and basically gave the administration till 5 o'clock today to come up with a solution. Otherwise, they were going to have to make a decision. And I don't know that they were going to necessarily make a decision as much as they were going to make a decision to take the case. And if they take the case, it'll probably be held. But then it also appears now that the administration has come out and said they're asking the court to actually get rid of it, but they want to get rid of it with a little bit of a delay. They want to wait till after the holiday or through, into the beginning of the year. So that doesn't really solve the problem. It just postpones it, which is something they seem to be good at. We saw that with the trucker strike. They postponed problems. They didn't necessarily solve them right away. So it's all up in the air at the moment. We'll have to see what the outcome is as this plays out.
And this is kind of like how China ended their CV lockdowns like overnight. This isn't something you would think that would just end in a single day. You would think that it would be something that would be I guess, broken down into smaller segments, or per state they would do it one at a time, or sections of it would drop this thing. But it's all happening across the entire southern border all at once, and that just seems absolutely insane. There is one thing that we can believe is news of this has spread to other countries. The one thing we can confirm is that even Fugel family members have people that are actually waiting on the other side of the border, and they're literally packed up with tens of thousands of people waiting for this thing to end. That is something that is obvious. If the whole world is told that this Title 42, whether it is or not, when it ends, that it's going to be easier to get through, then people are going to come to try to live their American dream, or whatever they're trying to get out of bad situations, or whatever they're coming over for. But that is something that has gone and rung a bell, and it's even worse than what it was before. Now, people have made this into like this very decisive, and if you support it or you're against it, then you're one of these or you're this. I mean, it's pretty simple. It's something they put into place. It is something that shouldn't just end overnight. That's what most people think. What do you guys think? Should this be politicized to the point where, if you think that they should figure out a smarter solution, then you are somehow racist or something like that? I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And then no water, no power, damaged buildings, California towns struggle after a 6.4 earthquake. Now, I wasn't right on this. This was a few hours later. I believe Ilea was one of the first, and then Dex was, and then several Fugel family members that ended up sending us the information on this. And the people down in California, of course, felt this a whole lot worse than anybody else. Again, it was a very localized earthquake, and it did a lot of damage. But it doesn't look like it has taken any lives. I don't know if there is an updated count, if there was anyone.
We have an update in the next one.
Was there somebody who perished? I believe
there's at least two
people,
now, unfortunately.
Okay, so it hasn't gone up. So at least 2 perished in this, so it was enough to actually take lives. It depends on where you were in California. But it says it was the most intense earthquake that I've felt, the mayor of the small Northern California city told the Times. It was a long-duration earthquake, so it was not only significant size at 6.4, it was also long. She then had to get to work coordinating with Rio Del's building department and volunteer fire department to check on structural integrity of homes, as well as dozens of emergency calls that were flooding in from residents. Garn said that about 60 emergency calls came through in the immediate aftermath of the earthquake. Most of the injuries in Rio Del were minor, she said, but then there was one fatality during the earthquake, but it is unclear how it may have been related to the tremors. The mayor said that the call came in after the earthquake about someone who was having difficulty breathing. The person went into cardiac arrest and emergency medical personnel performed CPR. There is a second person. We'll talk about that in a second. The person was taken to the hospital but did not survive. So this could have been something where they could have had a heart attack because they were scared. I don't know. Or they could have breathed in some of the stuff that happened from the earthquake shaking everything up. Says the fire chief can't say yet what was caused, if it was caused by the earthquake. And then it says that at least a 6.4 magnitude earthquake rocks Northern California. The victims perished as a result of medical emergencies occurring during and or the following the earthquake. So the big point wasn't here that it was a huge death count. The big thing was the damage that is actually seen, the videos, which we will attach some of those videos on the website. Ilea found a few. I found several of the actual earthquake not only happening, but some of the damage. There were businesses that had their windows broken. There were actually some good videos that went up in the small town that essentially somebody was doing a drive-through town. All of the windows broke on the main street, but by midday, they actually had all of the windows fixed. So they were ready to get it done, and they got it fixed really quickly. The main point, though, that I think that people need to be paying attention is to where this actually happened. This is something I'm passionate about because I was obviously in the target of the Cascadia subduction zone. Now, as far as the Cascadia subduction zone, when you live in Washington, Oregon, or California, Those are three words that you really should know, and you should know back and forth. It is going to be a disaster that humans have not seen in this generation, or I don't think it ever. Because now, when we have a Cascadia subduction zone rupture, a full margin rupture, it will not only be a 9+ earthquake, which each individual point is exponentially bigger. So when you go from 6.4 to 6.5, it's a big uptick. But when you go from 6 to 7, it's exponentially bigger. It goes up into the tens, and then it just keeps going. And I want to say there was a thing like a 7 over a 6 is like 1,000 times stronger, and then it keeps going from there. But as far as how strong and how long these end up going, 6.4 is a long earthquake. A 7, I believe 7 is where you hit a minute long, and then after that it goes up. A 9.0 would be 5 minutes long. To put that into perspective, I don't know if you've ever done a Hot Pocket, but they take about 2 minutes in the microwave, and most of you are like, I'll never eat a Hot Pocket. I'm healthy and I eat really good food. Well, I ate plenty of them in my day, and they always took 2 minutes. Imagine cooking a Hot Pocket and waiting and sitting there watching it, and then going, oh, I'll make a second one, and microwaving it and waiting, and then go, I'll put in a third. That's about how long this earthquake would take. So it won't be just a shaking. It will be something that you live through. As many people that have experienced earthquakes know, time slows down. Just like if you've ever been in an accident and time slows down when you're about to crash into something, your brain goes into hyper mode and you see everything in slow-mo. Well, imagine that happening and then actually coming back to reality because it's going on so long. Not to mention, about 15 minutes after the initial earthquake, we will have a tsunami. And it's a guaranteed tsunami. It's a tsunami that's happened many, 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 many times before. And it happens on average every 240 years. And it happens on average every 240 years. It's been about 320. So we're about 80 years overdue for it by some respects. So there's a chance it could go 500 years in between. That's, on the high end. But by most standards, we are actually overdue. Now, as far as the military and FEMA, they are prepared as if it was going to happen already. Something about what is going on with the science that the government is able to know and we're not, I believe they are preparing a whole lot more because they know it is coming. Cascadia subduction zone is a line, and I don't know if we have any pictures. Dex, does this have one? I was going to try to see
the original articles do that are on the website. I tried to format these so we could get them, but they just didn't work.
That's all right. Can you just get a general picture of the Cascadia subduction line with this, where this is on this? It was at the very kind of end of it. And one thing to think about is that the Cascadia subduction zone goes not only from Canada, goes past Washington, goes along Oregon, and then goes to the beginning of California. So you're talking about a 700-mile range, which somebody standing in Seattle will experience the exact same earthquake that somebody in Oregon is going to experience, that somebody in California is going to experience. And they've even talked about, and we've looked at the science behind the boomerang, where it could actually rupture and then the tremors would go and shoot back up the whole margin rupture. It's so big that these subduction zones are the same thing that caused the Boxing Day earthquake and the Japan earthquake. These kind of earthquakes are what can create mountains. So we're talking about the entire United States shifting. And imagine this, if you're standing somewhere, say you're on the coastline looking at the beautiful Oregon coast, well, wherever you're standing will shift 45 feet in one direction. So imagine the ground under your feet shifting about the distance of a home from left to right side. That's how bad this thing will be. Go ahead, Dex. Did you have you got a picture in there?
Yeah, I grabbed that picture that you tweeted, I think, because it shows both the earthquakes, the big one and the one that just recently happened, and it shows the subduction zone. I think that's a good map.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so this shows kind of what happened, where this happened, and this is why people should. And I'm not saying that, there's no way to really tell, but we have had several little events that have happened over the last 3 years with the Cascadia subduction zone. And when you see one like this, that is very alarming. So not only is there one, but there's two along the Cascadia subduction zone. Well, actually, no. So the second one was along the Juan de Fuca. So the Juan de Fuca and the North American plate, they will go like this, and at some point it will snap, and it will do this. And after it snaps, the pressure will drop, it will snap, and then imagine all of the water from Canada to California basically going like this and causing now what they know of is going to be a bigger than 120 feet even in a lot of estimates now. So before it was like 60 feet. We're talking, 60 feet, 6-story high tsunami. Now it's possibly over 100 feet. In Moclips, Washington, they actually had this point that was 125 feet as their evacuation point there, because all along the coast they have these alarms that go off for tsunamis, and they also have a town plan. Well, their town plan was to go up to the top of this hill where a military installation is, and it's got these houses for people on vacation, and that was their evacuation point. Well, they actually changed that after scientists found that there was a lip outside the water in Washington that is essentially not only going to drive the waves up, but it's going to act as a ramp, and it's going to go higher than 125 feet. So even though they're super high up on this cliff and 120 feet up in the air, that would not be safe in Moclips. So that's pretty big. When this does happen, it's going to be one of the most life-changing events anybody can know. The thing is we haven't seen anything like it. We've seen something similar with Japan, but Japan was farther out than this. This is going to be extremely close, and humanity has basically made a metropolis all along the line of this very historic subduction zone that is very, very regular. It's just that, we didn't have buildings here the last time. It was 1700 the last time that this happened, and it sent a tsunami wave all the way to Japan. So just if that can give you kind of an idea. If you look up Cascadia subduction zone, look up Chris Goldfinger. I've actually did a full hour-and-a-half interview with him. He is one of the leading seismologists. He has his own TED Talk on it. I believe it's called Cascadia. It's called something, the really, really big one, and burnt toast or something, basically talking about how the West Coast, everything west of I-5 will be toast. That was a quote from the FEMA director at the time. Pretty freaky. So keep your head. The main point of this is when you have these kind of earthquakes, even close to this line right here, you need to be paying attention. The Juan de Fuca and the North American Plate, those are things that you need to watch. I would highly recommend, he's actually on screen right there, watching Dutch Sense. I guess he has not been online, but I think he's still on Twitch, so make sure to follow him over there on Twitch. On Twitter, and find out where he is. All right. Did you experience a quake? Do you have video? Do you have Ring camera footage? Send it to me at marfooglenews.com/playmyvideo. We would love to show it in the next couple days. If you had some crazy footage of that earthquake, please let me know. Otherwise, get yourself a bag, a go bag, and make sure that you are ready for possibly anything. And after Twitter voted him out, Elon Musk indicates future polls could be restricted to blue users. Dex, this is exactly what you said, and it was pretty easy to see after his response. Do you want to explain to anybody that wasn't here yesterday?
Yeah, so a lot of people are suspicious of the poll, and the poll obviously had huge numbers of turnouts, larger than any other poll before. And a lot of people then suggested maybe it was attacked by bots, which it very likely was. And some were suggesting, hey, you should only run polls for those that have the blue check mark, because they're the ones paying the bill, so to speak, for the platform, and they have more skin in the game than these bots do. And he agreed to that, or he said, yes, that sounds like a good plan, something to that effect. He also came out just recently in the past couple of hours and said he is going to step down as CEO, but not until he finds somebody that's willing to actually do the job. And he hasn't been able to find anybody that he trusts or that is willing to do it. So that's sort of up in the air, but he did say he was still going to run the engineering and software development teams. So obviously he still wants to be involved in it, but he doesn't want, he's fine not being the CEO if he can find someone to do it.
This picture here, by the way, that's Kirshner right there sitting next to him. It was Kirshner, right? Did you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
So it just makes you wonder. People wondered about him the whole time that he was T-Man's senior advisor. So, but you never see, have we seen Elon hanging out with T-Man? I'm sure he's been at dinners and stuff with him at one point, but do they talk? I never hear of anything about Donald from him.
Publicly, Elon hasn't necessarily been a big fan of his as of recently. But the reason I think you would see Jared there is all of the work he did in the ME with the peace deals. And so he's got a lot of connections over there with that. He brokered quite a bit of that. So, and I believe the other person standing there is one of the investors of Twitter. If not, then it's just another, then maybe I'm wrong. But I know that investor from the Middle East is there as well.
Well, I there was a general consensus for a while, and I may be completely wrong, but that Kirshner was kind of like, it was because he was married into the family. He got this kind of job. Like, he normally wouldn't be a senior advisor. What does it take to be a senior advisor? Does that mean, like, if your friend is president, if he's like, well, he's really cool and he knows how to play pool really well, like, you're a senior advisor. Is there any, like, requirements to be a senior advisor, or do you just need to have good advice? I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Thank you so much for everybody. Reed E, what is going on? True Iris heads, don't you know? Yes, they do. And they don't have beers at their World Cups. Mary the Daughter says, Modoc. He worked the Abraham Accords. Yeah, I want to say he got some sort of huge award to be that. Have to be a senior, says Rizar. I don't think that's it, but because I don't know. He looks like he could be 60. Let's see here. Thank you over on D Live, everybody that has popped in so far. Beer Juice, Scooby Doo right, says, hey, Foogle fam, just watching tonight. Caw. Vicky K, thank you so much for your nightly stop by. Sean Penman-Rod, thank you for gifting out a badge. And then Respiratory Jane, thank you for grabbing that. And Deep State of Mind and Kimbria, thank you so much for your support. By the way, I do want to say thank you. I found out recently, obviously being online, you just get a lot of any position where you're in front of a lot of people. There's people that aren't going to like you. There's also people that may just not like you. But to find out that somebody who is pretty vocal that they don't like you, but to have a respect to actually that has, like, you find out that they actually respect you a little bit, right? That they have respect, not enough to do something bad. Like, it's okay not to like each other, but to do something rude, that's a whole different, point. But I just found out a few people actually were actually quite more respectful in their interaction. So I thought that was really admirable. And I guess you don't find out who people are until it really comes down to it. So I appreciated it. I think there's a lot of great people. There's a lot of people, like I said on Twitter the other day, I hated some of my best friends until I got to know them. And I think we all have had that happen. In fact, we probably all have a best friend or two that we absolutely hated. Something about them, bothered us, whether it be their voice or their look or something. And then you get to know them and you're just like, wow, this, we have so much more in common than we thought that they did. The thing is you never know the battle that somebody next to you has gone through. You don't know why they are in the position they are in now. You don't know what kind of battles they've went through to make the person they are. So that's why I just try to say, if treat people like you are treated. Sometimes it's not always fun to do so. Sometimes in fact, even if they treat you badly, treat them good. And it's much harder to do. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but it is something that has been a challenge over the years being online. And I have found out that some people have bigger hearts than you think. And then let's see here. Before we talk about Kim's sister talking about the satellites, I do want to remind everybody, make sure to head over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. They now have the micro EMP shield, which is literally about this big. It is a very teeny device, but it has all the same protections that the big one has, and it can fit in four-wheelers, motorcycles, all sorts of, and little bikes too. The thing is tiny, so if you have something to protect that maybe prior you said, whoa, this thing's huge, they heard you loud and clear. They have made a tiny version of it that is a little bit more expensive, but it can fit in almost anything. So again, that is the micro EMP shield. Make sure to go check that out. Really, really cool devices. It can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before an EMP or a CME can fry your device. It can, again, protect your car, your motorcycles, your trucks, your four-wheelers, your ATVs, again. And, of course, your generators. You can get one for your gas-powered generator, and you can also get one. In fact, the Flex 1500 from Energy is the only solar generator you can get an EMP shield custom for. It also can be wired into your house. There's a version for pretty much anything you want to keep running. Make sure to go check it out. The car version takes less than 15 minutes, and that small one, can you use the small micro version on your car? Because if so, that would be pretty sweet, because that would be really easy to fit. Oh, that's pretty cool. So
it makes install even easier. And certain cars don't have a lot of space, so it's easier for them if you get the micro.
Yeah, you could bolt it to a little tiny gap. If you can fit your hand through, you can put the micro somewhere there. So pretty awesome. They are definitely opening a lot of doors for people that had the newer cars that have like no space. I don't know if you've ever worked on a new car, but it's all plastic and it's all compact and tight together, and you have no room to do anything. They do it on purpose, so you have to take it to a specialist. Kim's sister says, doubt on spy satellite are dog barking. Relate things to dogs barking. Haven't we heard this like 20 times now? That it's just like rabid dogs barking, or they always put like some sort of adjective before it.
I thought they had a dog bite or bite you like a dog or something like that before. Yeah, there's always something dog related with them. And plus they gave dogs to somebody in SK, and he ended up donating them back to the zoo.
Well, it says the powerful sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Tuesday dismissed the malicious, disparaging, and dog barking the outside assessments that cast doubt on its developmental spy satellite and other military capabilities. Of course, talking about what we said that they now say they have, which is a satellite surveillance tool that can zoom in to a level that they never had before. Why that is important is those same systems would be used to actually go hand in hand with targeting systems that could be used for nukes or EMP or anything else. It says North Korea earlier claimed its rocket launches Sunday were tests of its first military reconnaissance satellite, and on Monday its state media released 2 low-resolution photos of South Korean cities as viewed from space. So, Kim Jong-un in space. Nobody wants to see that. And then North Korea threatened strong military step against Japan. This is partly why, and I don't know if this is, it's mostly China, but Japan is now turning into an offensive country. Overnight, they're going to go from a defensive-only, super low military budget to now being in the top 5 military budgets in the world, because they believe they are going to be in some sort of war soon. That's my thoughts on it. What's yours? It says North Korea threatened Tuesday to make a resolute and decisive military step against Japan while it slammed Tokyo's adoption of national security strategy as an attempt to turn the country into an offensive military giant. The North statement came 4 days after Japan announced a security strategy that includes a counterstrike capability against enemy targets and doubles its military spending to gain a more offensive footing against threats from China and North Korea. So this is something that they're completely changing up the way they do things. Dex, as far as specifically Japan, why do they have beef with Japan? It's like, I don't know, how much does Japan really do to anybody, or at least has in the last few decades?
Well, I guess they're changing their position, and Japan has been really upset, especially with the launches. It's in particular the ones that go towards them, or even more so the ones that have gone over their country, which is even more of a risk. The other thing that has also happened that the first article we talked about, it covered, but we didn't show it on screen. So if you go read the article on the website, it's there. While all this is going down, in response to those 2 launches we talked about last night, the U.S. and the allies and SK have flown another mission around the area using B-52s, F-22s, F-35s, and F-15s. I think the B-52s and the F-22s were from the U.S. The F-35s and F-15s were from SK. And we did another joint mini drill, if you want to call it that, in response. So all of this, back and forth, he launches, we come in and we do our drills right up against him. Japan, has something to say about it, especially when the launches are headed towards them. NK is now talking back to Japan. It's not a pretty thing. Nothing's getting better. It's only seems to just continuing to escalate up.
Yeah, so, and with them changing their entire constitution, that should be kind of a hint that something is not going right. Everybody looks at the U.S. and our actions, but you should be looking at the rest of the world as well. U.S. and, hold on here. Oh, okay, I see the issue. U.S. and China trade barbs over South China Sea. Dex, do you want to cover this one?
So the embassy in Manila accused the U.S. on Tuesday of driving a wedge between the Philippines and Beijing. So we're getting more of the words coming from these leaders, but it's all still around the South China Sea area. So specifically, with the relationship with the Philippines, trying to maintain that strong ally with the West or with the U.S. Against Xi, and then but it's obviously that disputed area down there is a hot point, more so for Xi. It's not a hot point for anyone else as long as it stays open. If he closes it down, then it's a hot point for everyone else. So, but it's a very hot point for them. They've built the islands. They've moved in military equipment. They've built bases. They put runways in. They've done a lot to try to control, or at least give the semblance and appearance that they manage and have that territory that is known as the South China Sea, so that they can control the shipping that goes through there. And it's a lot of shipping. And so I think that, of course, the trade and the economics around that, nobody wants them to necessarily control it because they want to have more freedom to move in and out. And of course, the U.S. militarily doesn't want any advancements on their part. They want to be the ones controlling the Pacific as a whole. So this continues to just add to the escalation between the U.S. and China.
And Drop said a very, very true comment that says because Japan occupied Korea for centuries. Yes, but in the last however many years they haven't, and I guess nobody who's alive now, or I guess some that are alive now may. I don't know when they ended up unoccupying Korea. But under that same notion, it would be like then Australia would be, trying to go to war with Britain or all sorts of different people that have occupied places. they occupied China as well. They occupied huge parts of China. I know China still has a beef, but it's like they have their own country now, and I guess they're not happy with that. But yeah, there's plenty of reasons. I guess you're right that they would hate Japan, but it's all kind of petty if you look at it from today's standpoint. And then explosion sounds in Belgorod Oblast, Russia. Part of Shebekino city lost power. So they're actually knocking out power in Russia now. It says there were explosions in the Russian city of Shebekino, Belgorod Oblast, like state, which is not far from the border with Ukraine. It says part of the city has been left without electricity and there is a wounded person. It says the power supply has been disrupted as a result of the shelling. 1/3 of the city's residents are left without power. So now there are strikes going into Russia that are actually knocking out power in their country. That is an offensive blow. Many are saying that this is going to get out of control. What do you guys think? I would love to hear your opinions in the chat. By the way, thank you everybody that just popped in. Nana of Montana, hey, thank you. Let's see here. It says, please check on your elderly neighbors in cold weather. Could save a life. I agree with that, Nana. In fact, we have people kind of switch off. There's an older, I want to say she's 92, that a bunch of my neighbors actually switch off checking on because her family's in New York. That is a very great idea. Nana of Montana, thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Daniel Walker says, what's up, guys? Checking all out live while on my vacation. Been watching you for 4 years now. Keep up the good work. You all be safe. Well, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Blue Boy 1968. Hi, Adam Dex. Just referring to my comment that I made about Elon's poll in your last show. I was right to not trust it. He has just put in rules in about who can participate in it. Well, he said that there was something off about it. We don't for sure know if it was messed up, but I think he's kind of clever because he's got kind of an out. That was a really great, comment. If people are paying for the Twitter Blue, then let them decide. And then Carol McLean, thank you so much. I appreciate you supporting tonight. As always, JJ, please all of start posting in hashtag digital constitution for we the people so we don't end up in digital slavery. It's up to you to make it happen. Which, again, President T-Man, he ended up putting out extremely important information, but the media ended up turning it into, he was just posting his digital NFT cards. That was kind of a flub up there. All right, and then as far as Russia goes, it says later Gladkov reported that shortages, manufacturing facilities, and 2 cars were damaged with shell fragments in the territory of the industrial area. So they are now smashing places in Russia, most likely with more advanced gear that they got from NATO. It says he stated that the electricity supply was completely restored at 14:15. Which, again, so now everybody's got power back, but now they're striking inside of Russia. Definitely another part of the now 5-part escalation that's happened over the last month, where it's not only a defensive war, it is an offensive war. All right, and Zelensky planning to visit Capitol on Wednesday to address Congress. So he's actually set to visit Capitol Hill on Wednesday for a joint meeting of Congress. Vladimir, the other Vladimir, is expected to address a special joint session for Congress on Wednesday night. The trip is not 100% confirmed and highly dependent on the security situation. It says, quote, it's not confirmed, a source familiar with the situation told Daily Mail. All dependent on security, leaks not helping. It says multiple news outlets reported the trip. It would be Zelensky. That's funny. They didn't catch that. It would be Zelensky's first in-person visit to the U.S. since Vlad invaded. And I'm sure they'll find him a green shirt suit. Dex, wouldn't this put a target on our back or a possibility for a Fantastic Freddy to happen here on our soil?
It certainly could. It's clear that he's coming here for the handout. I mean, the $1.7 trillion that has been put up by Congress for the government funding bill includes $45 billion for UKR. So I'm sure he's here to help make sure that bill gets passed, and collect his 45 billion and go back home. And he's probably, some are suggesting that since FTX is now down, maybe he's on making a personal delivery to bring some of that the fundage back. But that's just what some people are speculating. But nonetheless, I think this really is all about the handout and getting more and more of our taxpayer dollars to their government so they can do whatever it is they do with that money.
Well, no wonder he's smiling. What is your opinion? Let me know in the comments down below. Just a tiny smile. And real quick, I do want to remind you guys, if you are in any place right now, one, we talked about it yesterday, but just a reminder, make sure to get your house and your family ready for cold. The top kind of U shape of the United States is going to see possible negative 30 degree temperatures. Some places are as low as negative 15. There's even places in eastern Washington that are negative 15 degrees right now. So make sure to have your stuff backed up. Make sure to research on how to protect your home, your pipes, and everything else. If you have a chance, make sure to look that up while you still have internet and everything else. When it gets this cold, the grid is at a extremely vulnerable position. So that's brings me to the next point. This is one of our affiliates. Again, an affiliate is essentially when you go through them, you're going to get a discount and you're going to be helping our channel at the same time. But this one, I believe we have already helped people. As far as this is a solar generator, it is made by Energy. This is the X2. It is not the one I personally have. I actually have the Flex 1500. That is their flagship system that stacks like Legos. You can actually take 1 or 2 batteries or 3 or even 5 in a single stack and just take them with you. Or you can expand it up to make a whole power wall made out of these. You can extend up to 96 batteries. This is the system I recommend, but again, there are different uses for different devices. The one at the top is really, really good. It's an all built-in one, so the battery, it's basically competing with a whole other market of solar generators. The generators that are all built in. Now, you might see the ads for the cheapo ones that are on YouTube. There's different brands, and I'm not specifically talking about either one, but they do. You'll see 4 different generators that all have different names, but you're like, well, that looks exactly like the other one I saw on a YouTube ad. Those are chintzy. They're made really crappy. I've seen 2 of them in person, 2 different brands, exact same manufacturer. They just pasted somebody else's name on it. They're crap, in my opinion, and I bet you most of my peers will say the same thing. There's 1 or 2 good ones. This one is made like a tank. Same with the Flex 1500. You can feel it. You can't really describe. I mean, they're built like a truck. These will get you through a power outage. They'll get you through a storm, and they keep going. You have unlimited power once you start getting some solar panels. Even if you just get 1 solar panel, at least you can have power rolling in. The cool thing about these is, again, they can be modded. As far as the Flex 1500, you can actually add a mod that triples the amount of input. So instead of 4 solar panels, you can add 12. These things are amazing. Go check them out. They're not cheap. They're an investment. And if you are going to get one, get your money's worth. Get one that's going to last for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That's my advice on it. Again, I will do a video in the future showcasing this because it is super, super amazing. There is a wait list. It is over a month for this. So if you do want to get one, go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, I was going to say, Energy let us know just this afternoon that they have the Kodiak X2 shipment is now on time and en route to their Idaho warehouse now, and they plan to deliver every single order no later than January 12th. So That's huge
Can
for all you
people
X2 buyers.
and that's the people that ordered in December, right? So can you order one
Correct.
now and get it on
You
January?
probably could. I can't speak to their inventory level, but I would think you might be able to, because that's what it still says on their website. And it's sort of like they've spotted Santa's sleigh. It's in the air, so to speak.
And when they get the lithium, they have to, every time they get a shipment of the lithium technology, then they have to build their units, and then they ship them out as they get them. There's a huge shortage of lithium and the components that are going into these. Plus, these have multiple of the chips, the semiconductor chips. They have all sorts of things in this that are now hard to get. So if you do want to get one, you need to, obviously put your name on one and get it as soon as possible. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about Moscow? It says shot down 4 U.S.-made missiles over southern Russia. Whoa.
Yeah, so here we go. This is, I think that, they're coming out and making a big statement about this, especially because these are U.S. made. So that's kind of a big deal. This was over the southern region, bordering UKR, but it was in Vlad's territory, and they shot them down. So these are the HARM, HARM. They're anti-radar missiles. And they were in the airspace over the Belgorod region. So being the fact that they're U.S. made definitely makes it a little bit easier for Vlad to say, hey, I told you don't use this kind of stuff. Don't engage. Don't keep funding with this. And it's just one more, sort of notch in that list of things that he has said he was going to respond to. Now, we'll see if anything actually comes of it. I mean, at the end of the day, we've seen numerous of these things happen throughout the course of this conflict where Western equipment has been used, or it's been speculated, or intel was supplied, or satellite information was supplied, stuff like that. So we'll have to see. But, this is definitely, it's got our signature on it, so to speak.
What's funny is it's like they would rather be hit with missiles that they made. UKR uses a lot of Russian-made missiles. So, in fact, supposedly the missile, the Russian-made missile that ended up hitting in Poland, they said was actually fired by UKR. Oddly enough, they would rather be hit with their own weapons than ours. But
they say that story broke on Twitter. Have you heard that?
What? That
when that went down, that the early reports were that it was coming from Vlad, and then they had to change the reports because of the people on Twitter that saw the fragments and the images, and were able to prove that the type of munition it was couldn't have been fired from Vlad's territory because of the distance at which it travels. So it then turn that narrative around if that narrative was going to be used differently.
So wait a second. You're saying that Twitter not only broke the story, but then disproved that it was Russia's?
Yeah, they didn't. I don't know if they broke it, but what they did was the photographs that were taken on the site that showed the wreckage in Poland. On Twitter, certain users were able to identify what type of munition that was, or what type of missile that was, and then were able to prove that because of that type, it was impossible for it to be fired from Vlad. It could have only been fired because of the distance that missile can travel from UKR. And when they started to put that message out, that's when they came out and said, "Oh yeah, this was friendly, accidental, missile."
Okay, so it could have been a Fantastic Freddy trying to get us into WW3. That would almost tell you that UKR and its funders, the US, would want this to happen, right? But not if they get caught in the meantime. Well, just like we just showed you on this last one, they said the missiles which were first deployed in 1984, these are different ones, but it says have been adapted so they can be fired from Kiev's Soviet-era warplanes. So as far as basically they said, well, this certain type can only be fired by this. Otherwise, if it's fired by Vlad's, it can't go that far and it wouldn't be able to have happened. sounds to me like somebody was trying to get us into Article 5, into NATO full-on conflict. That seemed just a weird thing where Vlad said it wasn't him, UKR said it wasn't us. I mean, that's perfect setup for everybody to be like, what really happened? And then they didn't let UKR do the investigation in the first place. But then you're like, but they're a puppet of the U.S., so like, what the heck? Doesn't make sense. And then gas pipeline going through UKR to EU explodes in Russian Chavishia. 3 perished. So, and yet again, these are critical points. It says in Russia Chavashia, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, an explosion hit the main gas pipeline Urengoy Pomari Uruzrad, which caused a fire. 3 people perished as a result. It said the explosion rocked the gas pipeline between the villages of Kalinino and Yapaktino of the Verna rayon of Chavishia. It says, according to the preliminary reports, there was a gas leak. The Ministry of Emergency Situations of the Russian Federation staff went into place. So is this a cover-up? Was this some sort of attack that they're saying was a gas leak? What do you guys think? I would love to hear it in the comments. Dex, do you think it was a cover-up, or do you think this was on purpose? A cover-up on purpose or an accident?
Yeah, that's a good question. If it did happen, would they want to cover it up? Why would they want to cover it up?
Don't know. Maybe it was their own accident, or maybe it was something, I don't know. Well, 3 perished. That might be a good reason to blame it on accident. Yeah, I don't know. I would like to point out, though, on Twitter, I essentially put out something that says, it showed a video, and I can't show you the video, but it was essentially this guy talking about how Russia is and how they have more martyrs and saints than any other country. And I don't know if that's a fact or anything, or if I don't know if there's any numbers. But I hate that now if you say anything that does not completely make Russia look, just stupid or weak, that then you are pro-Putin or you are carrying his water or something. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. If you say anything like people, oh, what are you, a communist loving blah, blah, blah. A gentleman said he was a combat vet and essentially said, I can't understand these communist loving conservatives, which is, 1, I don't love communists, and 2, I'm not a conservative. I wouldn't consider myself anything because I think both sides are just absolutely messed up. But as far as and what I said was that the media is pushing for us to underestimate Vlad. They're pushing us to say that they are absolutely losing, that they are just tail between their legs, they're retreating, they're stupid. I mean, they literally make them look like they are just absolutely tripping over their own feet, just stupid. But they're also saying that they're weak. First of all, before this whole thing happened, if you just rewinded a year before that, there was no question first of all, Russians come from a place where a majority of Russians, not only do they come from a communist country, they've got things to deal with that we don't, but a lot of them come from places that are real hardship. Canadian Prepper actually put it really well. I think it was hardship without resupply. Basically, if we have some sort of hardship, there's, some sort of thing to fix it, or there's some way to fix it. There's places there that there is no way to fix it. You don't have food and water. I mean, people struggling just to live. That makes tough people. And I think it's extremely dangerous to underestimate your enemy. And I quoted a couple Art of War quotes, which was, look strong when you are weak, and look weak when you are strong. That is something that I looked at and I said, man, that just reminds me a whole lot of what they are trying to do. It looks like they are trying to look weak when they're not. They put in all of this crappy stuff in the beginning. They put in all their old stuff, and I think that it worked. Nobody doubted if you met. I mean, let's just be real. If you run into a group of like 6 or 7 Russian guys in the club, especially if you're just like, 1 or 2 guys, you're not going to go mess with the 7 Russian dudes. I'm sorry. But there's some tough dudes there. And I guess now you look at the 18-year-olds and the people that are created are youth right now. The 18-year-olds that are going to be the majority of the guys fighting, look at our 18-year-olds and then look at their 18-year-olds. That is something that people need to point out. It's not saying that they're so awesome or this or that. It's saying it's stupid and ignorant to underestimate your foe and to pretend like they aren't a powerful enemy. They have spent all of their money on military. That's why they are a major power. Otherwise, they wouldn't be. They wouldn't be one of the world. They wouldn't, everybody considers it the U.S., China, then Russia. Why is it in that order? Well, they people say, oh, they have nukes. Well, they also have a crazy, insane military as well. And they've used a lot of stuff they've learned from us, too. So I just think it's crazy to underestimate one of the most powerful militaries in the world and to be kind of smug and think that it's just, oh, we're America, so F yeah. A lot of things have happened to the American military, to the American culture, to the American people that we know is wrong. Those same people will be like, look at what they're doing. They're brainwashing everybody. But they won't realize that, hey, that's made us weaker. It's not a good thing, and it needs to be fixed. What do you guys think, though? Lukashenko thanks Putin for S-400 and Iskander already put on combat duty. So Putin just sent Lukashenko the S-400s. Dax, we talked about this yesterday. Already there are things that they said that they just talked about economic stuff, and now there's more news about basically they're hooking them up with military stuff and everything else.
Yeah, I'm just envisioning, Putin gets out of the front of the plane and runs down the steps looking all, fit and finished. And then they're, dropping the tail on the back of the plane and unloading the S-400. So I know that's not literally what happened, but that's sure what it seems like.
Yeah, they did some backdoor meetings there, and we don't know exactly what happened, but they most likely talked about the future conflict. And then Air Force grounds B-2 stealth bomber fleet after aircraft catches fire during emergency landing. Dex, do you want to cover this? This is insane. So apparently we have a vulnerable spot right now, which is our B-2 bombers. Yeah.
So we had an emergency landing at back it was in Whiteman, and it caused a fire. There was an undisclosed in-flight malfunction is what they called it. And that caused, I think it caused the runway there to be shut down, but that's not it. It's not just that originally just grounded the fleet that was there. But now they're basically saying, hey, we're grounding the whole fleet until we understand what's going on. So this is a kind of a big deal when you think about it, because, this is, the one of our, nuclear fleets. So, if they're grounded and they're not flying, that does leave us yet again weakened in one area or another. It doesn't mean we don't have anything. I mean, we've got plenty of other equivalent planes, but it is a significant portion of what we do when it comes to our nuclear readiness.
And for them to be the stealth bombers, as pictured, let's hear this guy. For these to be grounded even for a couple hours is not a good thing. And it says the multi-role bomber, which was first unveiled in 1989, is capable of delivering both conventional and nuclear munitions. The 20-aircraft fleet is based out of Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri. The B-2 Spirit experienced an undisclosed in-flight malfunction that resulted in emergency landing at Whiteman on December 10th. No one was injured. Now, I just wonder if we'll find out later that some parts in this or something were, I don't know, shipped out to some other country to build, and maybe they found out that they weren't done so well. I don't know. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what news ends up coming out about it. Blue Boy 1968 says, I wonder if Kim's sister has had her rabies shot. It seems she is the mad one in the family. I don't know if that's on purpose or if that's like her, if she's the new puppet or what. But yeah. And then Zenwin AZ, the whole country's weird. Love to all. Remember two. Thank you, Marv, Dex, and Mods. Well, thank you, Zen1A. Z. Jules B says, here in Nebraska, our high for Thursday will be negative 13. Jules B. Dex, did you hear that? She said that the high in Nebraska for Thursday will be negative 13. The high.
That's crazy. I don't even, that's like you get frostbite in just a few minutes.
Yeah, they said.
And if you add the wind to that, it'll probably be, right away.
Well, they said in as little as 3 minutes, you could get frostbitten. Merry Christmas to you both. Thank you for all your hard work. Thank you, Mods. Much love. Dr. Science, thank you. And Carol McLean, thank you again for the super sticker there. And Jerry Shirts says, Marf, we are the toughest and strongest nation in the world. Never be afraid. Never back down. I agree with you. But I have to say this. Look at what the last 15 years have done to try to diminish that advantage. Look at what other countries have done to infiltrate and how to change that fact. There is a lot of tough Americans here, but I guess I don't see many of them because I'm in Washington, and not saying that there's not some tough guys in Washington as well, but specifically in Seattle, you won't see too many of them. Maybe in Eastern Washington or other places. When you go to the Midwest, I guess you see who is enlisting, who is actually going to be our military. And I guess I have little faith in the 18-year-olds now. If you know any, it's very far and few between that they're actually, I don't know. It's a different breed. They've grown up with cell phones. They've grown up with social media. They've grown up with attention spans that last 2 minutes. It's pretty incredible what damage cell phones and social media has done. And I don't think we'll ever know exactly how bad it is until it's too late. So I just wonder about that. But I do agree, but you also have infiltrators in our own government trying to change that. And then lawmakers unveil bill to avoid government shutdown and boost UKR. Says congressional leaders unveiled a $1.7 trillion spending package early Tuesday that includes another large round of aid to UKR. It's like, well, here's how to avoid shutdown. Don't fund other countries. A nearly 10% boost in defense spending and roughly $40 billion to assist communities across the country recovering from drought, hurricanes, and other natural disasters. It says the bill includes about $772 billion for non-defense discretionary programs and $858 billion in defense funding, the largest ever in history. It says lawmakers are working to stuff in as many priorities as they can into what is likely to be the last major bill of the current Congress. They are racing to complete passage of the bill before midnight on Friday deadline, or face the prospect of a partial government shutdown going into the Christmas holiday. It's almost every time around this, it's this whole government shutdown thing, and everybody freaks out, and last minute they try to do something. Maybe don't fund other countries. Just saying. Just saying. And then China and Russia sharing a toolkit to dismantle the West. Dex, do you want to go over this op-ed?
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about the alliance between these two, and this op-ed is very much diving into the details of that, specifically talking about how they what they do to work together, and some of the actions that are taken maybe more so behind the scenes, that help each other out, and that quote unquote sharing a toolkit of strategies to undermine NATO. So in other words, they are aligned against NATO and any of the other Western governments. So that's the gist of it. And it's not something that we would be like, oh wow, that's eye opening. We didn't know that. Yeah, we know that, but at the same time, every time we hear Xi come out and make a statement that we think is he's not supporting Putin, don't kid yourself. He is 1,000%, whether it's, supporting him financially by buying all the oil, or supporting him with military or with other actions and other tactics. And then there's certainly a lot of discussion on their parts about how this current invasion in UKR is sort of a precursor or a test, so to speak, of what's going to happen for Taiwan, and how that will play out. What are the tactics that were used? We saw them, hey, look at all the sanctions that happened, and now what do we do as China? What do they do to try to get themselves prepared in a way to be able to circumvent or survive that sanction when it happens, right? So they're able to start looking at these different things that have happened, in whether it be just literal physical equipment that's being moved in versus the tactics of sanctions and other stuff, and how they can be prepared for it, because this was sort of the test. It's almost like Vlad was the guinea pig. I'm going to go do this and we're going to see what happens. Now we'll come back and learn from it, and now we'll be able to know how to handle Taiwan, as well as how to finish off what we want to do in UKR. So that's sort of the gist. That's probably the mindset that we're hearing between these two.
I didn't think about it, but it was just days before the whole thing started. And I remember we covered this when they said that they were no limits partners, was actually before the invasion started. And we said a couple nights before that we thought it was going to pop off. And there was a whole year before, we said it looks like Russia is going to invade Ukraine. I remember so many comments a year before saying, oh, it's just a drill, it's just an exercise. And looking to right now, where we have Russia and China drilling, when does a drill turn into the real thing? Well, when you see certain kind of key points. Before this started, I don't know if you remember this, but they started shipping actual blood to the border. A year before this, they put 160,000 troops, and you might remember that 160,000 troops, Russian troops, are on the border of UKR. That was a whole year before it started. They actually put all of their gear, all of their military equipment at the very border, and then last minute, everybody's freaking out. Then they say, oh, just, psych, it was a drill. And they pulled back all their troops. And we confirmed, and this is a good point. The whole media, everybody was scared. Nobody was paying attention. We were on it before everybody was freaking out. And then everybody's freaking out. It's all over Facebook. It's all over TikTok. Everybody's talking about it. This is before the invasion started, a year before. And then when they have 160,000 troops, everybody's freaking out. And then the next week they pull back. Everybody's super complacent, and everybody's like, "See, it was just a drill. Yeah, fear mongering. They're never gonna actually do it." I remember all these comments saying, "Oh, told you they do these drills all the time." We said it looks like they're actually doing it. When they pulled the troops back, they left the gear there. I guess what we're looking for in some of these other drills, when we see the drills happen, when they pull back the troops, or they leave the gear, or they set up permanent structures, which a lot of the folks in the Marfoogle fam, they'll even try to monitor satellite photos and the different websites that have the publicly available satellite photos. If they start leaving stuff around, that's when you need to start paying attention. I wonder what's going on with this current one. The thing is we're right, 10 days, about 10 days away from the new year. What if it really did start this year? What if this is actually them getting their stuff ready? Or we're a year out from the actual invasion of Taiwan and a full-blown conflict. We are now 10 days away from 2023. And we're even closer to this 2024, 2025 Deagle report and all these other freaking crazy rumors that have been going on for years about 2024 and 2025. We are also close to all of the natural disasters that have been predicted for this now, too. And people think it's all tinfoil hat, but yet these tinfoil hat people keep getting things right, and all of the mainstream media keeps getting things horribly wrong. So just think about that when you think about the drills, and think about how people were responding to that back when they put all of their stuff on the border of UKR. People didn't even believe it for weeks, because obviously what they can do is they can go, oh, it's a special military operation, and then it confuses the hell out of everybody. Oh, they're not really doing it. 10 months later, what is it? It looks like the forming of a world war. And it looks like history repeating itself, just like how the U.S. was sending gear and money to Europe before World War II. Now you have Australia involved. Australia sped up its acquisition of nuclear subs. They went from 15 years to 2 years. You have Japan switching their constitution. How do people not see a world war in the midst? I don't get it. I just don't. Face recognition tech gets Girl Scout mom booted from Rockettes show due to where she works. It says a recent incident at Radio City Music Hall involving the mother of a Girl Scout is shedding light on the growing controversy of facial recognition, as critics claim it's being used to target perceived enemies, in this case by one of the most famous companies in the country. It says Kenny Conlon and her daughter came to New York City this weekend after Thanksgiving, the weekend after Thanksgiving, as part of a Girl Scout field trip to Radio City Music Hall to see the Christmas Spectacular show. But while her daughter, other members of the Girl Scout troop, and the mothers got to go enjoy the show, Conlon wasn't allowed to do so. That's because Madison Square Garden Entertainment Conlon isn't just any mom. They had identified and zeroed in on her as security guards approached her right as she got into the lobby. It says that it was pretty simultaneous, I think, to me going through the metal detector, that I heard over an intercom loudspeaker, I heard them say, "Woman with dark hair and gray scarf." She said then she was asked her name and to produce identification. I believe they said that our recognition picked you up, Conlon said. A sign says facial recognition is used as a security measure to ensure safety for guests and employees. Conlon says that she posed no threat, but the guards still kicked her out with the explanation that they knew she was an attorney. An attorney. It says they knew my name before I told them. They knew the firm I was associated with before I told them, and they told me I was not allowed to be there. Conlon is an associate with the New Jersey-based law firm Davis, Saperstein, and Solomon, which for years has been involved in personal injury litigation against a restaurant venue now under the umbrella of MSG Entertainment. Quote, I don't practice in New York. I'm not an attorney that works on any cases against MSG. But MSG said she was banned nonetheless, along with fellow attorneys in that firm and others, which is pretty messed up. Like, she can't even go on her personal time. They're like, nah, you work for that piece of crap firm. MSG instituted a straightforward policy that precludes attorneys pursuing active litigation against the company from attending events at our venues until the litigation has been resolved. And I guess that's all good. But the fact that they found her the second she walked in with facial recognition, this is what's happening. I did a video about 2 years ago where there's a gas station in Washington that's in one of the worst neighborhoods. That is it's like a, I forget what it is. It's like a Texaco or Conoco or one of these off-brand ones. I don't know how many there are, but It has facial recognition, and it has you look up and smile at a camera before the doors unlock. And it either does a green or red. And I did a video essentially showing that my wife actually got 3 reds in a row, and she had to wave down the person inside, and they basically said, oh, well, they pulled up this person, and it wasn't her, but it recognized her as somebody that they banned from her store. And she's like, I've never been here before, because it got it wrong. And once it saw, the identification was totally different people, but it actually picked up her face as somebody that wasn't. Imagine this. You're out of gas, and in the future, you pull up to a gas station. You don't have your card. All you have is cash. Well, you can't go into that gas station because the facial recognition says that you're somebody you're not. This is happening all over the place, and it's picking up now, and you don't even know about it. Because a lot of these places, they don't have all of this, stuff saying they have it. Walmarts have it now. Dex, this is kind of terrifying as far as that facial recognition is now becoming normal. And even, people are pumping it, saying, oh, this will be safe.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not just looking at it to pick up criminals or somebody who has a warrant. They're doing it to keep their enemies away. They're saying, we don't like these lawyers, or we want to, blacklist these people and not allow them into our venues. So we'll just put all their faces in the system, and we can have security kick them out the moment they try to come through the door. That's the world we're living in now. And I promise you, this is not an isolated thing in just places that are owned by Madison Square Garden Entertainment. This is going to be happening everywhere, just like you described at the gas station. You're going to start to see, as this facial recognition technology continues to become pervasive across all of these different places. Just like, when was like metal detectors were kind of like, oh, it was only at the airport. And then all of a sudden we have them in sporting events. And then we have them in every sporting event in every school, and everywhere you go, it's like there's metal detectors. They become the norm. Well, this facial recognition is going to become the norm everywhere you go. And it's just one more tool for that social credit system. And in this case, the social credit system happens to be privately done. This company says we don't like certain people, and if your face shows up, we're kicking you out.
I mean, think about that. She wouldn't even be able to accompany her daughter into a Girl Scout cookie meeting because she's part of this thing. Like, shouldn't that be discrimination? Even if it's like a legal thing, it's like she's off work. She's not working, and she can't go into an establishment because of where she works. That should be retaliation. You should be able to sue for that. I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. I guess it's by what they pick, they won't let in, right? What if it was like, oh, if you work at Walmart, you're not allowed in our establishment? Like, it's nuts. Let's see here. And before we go, I do want to remind you, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep right now. They have a huge sale, $200 off on their 3-month supply of food. You can get freeze-dried food that is going to last 25 plus years. Again, this will be good until almost the year 2050. But again, most people will probably end up using it before then. If you have a bad storm, or if you have a disaster that happens in your local area, this can be for that. It doesn't have to be for the end of the world or an SHTF. It could be for a power outage or for a snow-in where you can't get to the store. To have backup food is absolutely essential at this point. Most people don't need to be told this after CV and all of the stores were emptied. But if you still don't get it, I'd highly recommend looking into all of the different natural disasters that can just happen in your area alone. Most people live in an area that can either have a flood, a typhoon, a tornado, a hurricane, earthquake, or a fire. Whatever it may be, these things can be extremely helpful. Not to mention, in 3 years from now, these could triple in price. We know because in the last 3 years, all survival food has tripled. In fact, it has gone up 3 times. If you bought it 3 years ago, you would have still had 22 years left on the shelf, and you could have spent a third of the price. If that is true, in another 3 years, you don't want to pay, of course, 3 times the amount now. Get it now, and you'll still have 22 years left on the shelf. Go check it out. You'll not only get a huge discount, $200 off on the 3-month and $70 off on the 1-month, but you'll also be helping our channel. We're independent. We don't have any backup. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company. We have ourselves, our mod team, and of course our Foogle fam. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. And there's other stuff there as well. You can get iodine tablets, Alexa Pure Pro, the water filtration system. There's all sorts of great stuff. Check it out. Highly recommend getting some of their survival books because you won't have the internet if things go down. All right, and let's see here. Dex, let's go over the web only. I did want to say thank you to a couple more people, though. Thank you so much. Over on D Live, we have Cloud Pharrell. What will the outcome be of China Zero being dropped? We still don't know. I think we're starting to see it, though. It is getting quite wild as far as now all of a sudden they're saying that there's like this crazy what did they call it yesterday, Dex? They called it like a apocalypse outbreak or something. What was the word they used? They said
wasn't it
thermonuclear. And that's
Yeah.
kind of weird. Why would they and that was a major establishment saying that they said it was going to be thermonuclear. Is that some sort of hint or something? Why would they call it thermonuclear? Do we remember what outlet that was? That wasn't their Global Times, was it? Because that would be very sus if it was.
No, it wasn't. I can find out real quick.
Yeah, I wonder what is, with all the weird things leaking, like Vladimir Putin's Noah's Ark being leaked and Elon Musk posting a picture of a space ark going to space. It's like, are they like communicating or something? Like, what the heck? Let's see here. And
It was coming from the Sun, but I'm trying to remember who the person that said it was. I want to say it was Eric Fiegelding, and I'm trying to see what his position was. Chief of one of the CV task forces.
Devin Cutmore, I believe you. 90% is a distraction. But I guess, how do we decide what's not a distraction? Because it's very easy to say that everything is a distraction. We have to find out what the 10% that isn't a distraction is. And can distractions hurt you? Because what's crazy is, think about if you're involved in an event that maybe you die. And then somebody else says, oh, well, that was just a distraction. Be kind of messed up if somebody minimized it as just a distraction if you did perish in it. But I guess it's all perspective. And then thank you, Ian DeBow. I appreciate you. Finally, it only takes a couple of years for me to get people's names right. Merry Christmas, Foogle fam. Best news on the web, Adam and Dex. Thank you. And then thank you, Tico and Taco. Love you. Thank you so much, Tico and Taco. I appreciate you. Thank you for your massive support and the super sticker. And then Jerry Shirt says, Marf, I totally agree with you, but I'm from Washington too. We are hunters. We are loggers. We are farmers. Don't count Seattle. And I won't. No offense, Seattle. But yeah, and I'm sorry, but if you are from Seattle watching, you're like, yeah. You may be cool, but look at what we are surrounded with. Dex, let's go over the web only. We've got a lot of it. Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Big ups to the mods. Thank you. Make sure to thank your mods right now for keeping it peaceful tonight. We all appreciate them.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link on the description over on YouTube or on Rumble. And you're going to find the rest of the story when you scroll down to this overflow. You'll get to all the articles we just covered, and then you'll get to the rest of the story. Lots going on here. Look, this is kind of interesting. So our current administration came out and said that the talks with the I country are dead, basically. But he said that back on November 4th, and nobody reported it. They just decided now report it. Not that it's a huge thing, but it's just like, why would you hold that back? Some reason that it's just being reported today. He was asked publicly, he was answered, it was on video, but nobody put it out. They just sort of held on to it. I don't know. The coldest spot on Earth apparently has been pinpointed, and it's no surprise it's in Antarctica. But if you want to know where that and other places are and how they did it, you can find out coming from Never a Straight Answers satellite systems. There's some updates on what you should be doing to fly. You're not required to, but they're recommending you make these changes. Apparently Kellyanne and Cuomo have been hanging out, but she claims it's not anything other than just dinner. All the T-Man stuff is there, and it's just a festering mess at the moment. So you can get the updates on all of that and what's been going on, including some opinions about the special prosecutor that's going to be determining whether or not they're going to do what the recommendations are from Congress. The cops are casting doubts on Musk's claim about the crazy stalker, as he called it. And there's also some other updates on that alleged incident that's being reported there. Now, of course, keep in mind, the media itself has been absolutely running amok against Musk. So I would take all of those things with a big grain of salt, but they're also interesting to look at and make sure you're paying attention. Hey, a couple of tech bros ran $800 million in events in a startup and bankrupt their company, having drug fueled parties and all sorts of crazy debauchery. So sounds like Silicon Valley to me. Enormous crowds are swarming in Argentina, and that's because of the win from World Cup. They actually had to helicopter out the people, or some of the people, especially the players, to safety because the crowds were just enormous. And then some other stuff going on about the happiest places to live in the U.S. If you're interested in knowing that and so much more, go over to marfooglenews.com. You can get the rest of the story, get everything that's going on, especially some of the topics we can't cover or don't cover here, as well as the rest of the news that we don't have enough time to cover all here in the show. So there's a lot more information. We put it together just for you every night. It's on our website, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open up that show notes link in the description on YouTube or Rumble.
And not surprising, California is on there for the happiest cities, and I bet it's the weather. We have, I think our stat here in Washington is like Seattle has the highest number of dentists taking their, unaliving themselves. It's like they have a running joke here. There's postcards of Seattle in almost every like touristy shop, and it shows 4 of the same gray overcast pictures of Seattle, and it says, winter, summer, spring, fall, and it shows us being gray like 24/7. It's true. It makes you depressed if you don't get sun. It's depressing. If you don't get vitamin D, it just puts you in a negative mood. Those folks in California and Florida and even where you're at, you have healthier conditions. Are you depressed and in the dark, gloomy Seattle weather? Well, it's pretty depressing now. It's snowy and covered and rainy and all sorts of stuff. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everyone here. Thank you, the mods, especially. Thank you guys for keeping it peaceful. I appreciate all of you guys. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Thank Wages World. Wages World is putting together all those videos. If I contacted you today, please get back to me. All you have to do is upload a 15-second, and you don't have to be a large channel if you want to submit yours. All you have to do is put a 15 to 30-second video on your YouTube, unlisted, and then send me the link, DM me the link, or you can DM Wages email Wages. His information's on, we'll put his information on the website. But also you can email me at adam@marfooglenews.com, dex@marfooglenews.com, or DM me on Twitter. That would be the quickest way, and I can just text it right over. All right, thank you guys, and love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. remember, the show continues over on Marfoogle Jams. And it looks like our top supporters tonight. Thank you so much, everybody that came. Scooby-Doo right. Thank you, everybody in the chat. This is where I say hello to you and get to know you. Thank you so much. Marvin Funtime, Deep State of Mind, Ilea, Terabile, Randy Man, Sydney Gillespie, Thomas Shoopman. Shoop, 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 shoop-a-doo. Shoop, 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 shoopman. I said the shootman back with the lifeboat. High planes drifting that I.O. I said the wolf background with the light. Oh, I got back with the lights there. Oh, I'm a mile back with the Mary Miles. Everybody going back now. Oh, by file, bio, a yo. I bet I'm a I.O. I'm a back and a art line. Clean up on the Eagle 5. A flip check in the day's life. Hey, a Joanna's adventure. Sydney Gillespie. Every man met ya. Bring it down now, adventure. What this who sent ya? Sarah on the tour, William on the stamper, 8-check Adam. Bring it on the back now, down now we smash him. Going right back down now like a Adam. Hot top Adam with the ATOM, SFT and the Visno band. Drops on the family garden and the Deborah Thompson. Hey, we love you all.
Hey, hope your guests do the dishes. Oh, hope you got your own wish list. Hey, hope you have a Merry Christmas. Oh, that your food is delicious. Hey, hope your guests do the dishes. Oh, hope you got your own wish list.
You heard him, Tommy. Get your video. All right, let's do a new one. This one is for... Tico and Taco, thank you. Nana of Montana is number 1, and I believe Tico and Taco and Dr. Science are tied for number 2. They go in a taco. They go in a... Nana of Montana, no, no, 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 Nana of Montana, no, no.
classic.